Welcome to Chase Austen's international best-selling Sam Wick action thriller series. This is final part of Book 1, Wicked Deceit. Schroeder Chapter 23. First Floor Guest Lounge. The screams crawled through the building's skeleton like dying animals seeking shelter, each echoing wail transmitted through pipes and ducts with crystal clarity. The sound stripped away everything human, delivering pure agony directly to Wick's ears. His hands clenched into fists, knuckles going white as bone. Something primal stirred in his chest, the same rage that had sustained him through childhood beatings at St. Catherine's, the fury of abandonment that had forged him into a weapon. The pipes didn't lie. He knew the specific flavor of violence happening above, systematic brutalization, the kind that broke minds before it broke bodies, professional cruelty delivered by men who'd abandoned humanity for profit. Just like his parents had abandoned him. "Mac, where's Carlos?" His voice scraped like steel on concrete, roughened by years of swallowed questions and buried rage. "Still in Carpio's office with Joaquin and Felipe." Mac's response crackled with digital static. "The others?" "Ambassador's playing statue. 3 hostels, 2nd floor, north wing." Mac's clinical tone couldn't mask the gravity. "Wick, whatever's happening up there, it's bad." Female civilian. "Yes, distress patterns are..." Mac paused, running trauma programs. "Significant." Another scream ripped through the pipes and something in Wick's brain snapped like a tripwire under tension. The sound of someone else being abandoned, left alone with monsters who fed on helplessness. His parents might have walked away from their responsibilities, he wouldn't. "Armed status on hostels?" "Probably armed. Wick, what are you..." Wick deliberately switched off his comm, the tactical display going dark as he severed his connection to protocol and oversight. In the surveillance van, Mac's screens showed the heat signature moving toward the stairwell with predatory purpose. "Jesus," Mac breathed into his throat mic. "He's going dark, just like Iran." Jessica's voice cut through their encrypted channel. "Mac, I've lost Wick's signal. Deliberate comm blackout, he's moving to 2nd floor." "That's not the plan." Stan's voice carried professional concern mixed with recognition. They'd all heard the stories about Iran, deviation from extraction orders, execution instead of extraction, questions that remained unanswered. "I know what the plan was." Jessica's command authority brooked no argument. "Mac, track his movement. Thermal only. ETA 30 seconds to contact." Wick moved through the building like death walking, each step measured and silent. His tactical mind overlaid the architecture. 5 steps to the stairs, 14 steps up split into 2 killing zones, 37 feet of corridor to the restroom where someone was being destroyed piece by piece. The familiar ice-cold clarity washed over him as his heartbeat slowed to a predator's rhythm. Years of training, of forging himself into an instrument of violence, crystallized into singular purpose. Unlike his parents, he would not turn away from someone who needed him. At the restroom door, he paused. His hand found the knob, fingers steady as steel. Through the gap, he caught sight of the empty corridor. No witnesses, no complications, just him and the monsters. He drew one final breath, tasting the metallic tang of coming violence. His anger at his unknown parents felt like liquid nitrogen in his veins, freezing into diamond-hard purpose. The knob turned with whisper-quiet care. Time to teach these animals what abandonment really meant. Chapter 24. 2nd floor restroom. The door's click silenced the room like an executioner's axe hitting the block. Wick's combat assessment took less than a heartbeat, his trained eyes cataloging every detail like a machine. Anna on her knees, clothes hanging in tatters, blood trickling from split lips. Bruises bloomed across her throat like purple flowers, each mark a fingerprint of violation. Her eyes held the 1,000-yard stare of someone whose faith in humanity had just been murdered. 3 predators stood frozen mid-assault, still fumbling with belt buckles and zippers. The stench of arousal and cruelty fouled the recycled air. Fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across their faces, highlighting every twisted line of anticipated pleasure. Flying eagle tattoos branded their flesh, ritual scars of belonging to something brutal and unforgiving. These weren't soldiers with codes of honor. These were rabid dogs wearing human skin. 2 Glock 26 gleamed on the sink counter like black promises, their polymer frames reflecting overhead lights. 3 sat phones scattered nearby, screens occasionally pulsing with messages from handlers who would never see their assets again. Ball out of reach, amateur mistake. "Who the fuck are you?" The question came from the leader, still fully dressed, voice wavering between authority and the first taste of fear. Sunlight through the high window caught the knife scar across his throat, old violence marking him as someone who'd survived before. Combat vest bulged beneath his civilian shirt, professional but not professional enough. His trigger finger was steady, but his eyes betrayed uncertainty. This wasn't his call to make. That privilege belonged to Joaquin. But Wick had already made his decision the moment he heard the first scream. His brain photographed the killing ground in high-def stillness, glass shelf above the sink, mounting brackets loose on one end. Carotid artery pulsing beneath scarred flesh, marking its own bullseye, heart beating through sweat-soaked cotton. Steel soap dispenser cap catching fluorescent light, its threaded end promising penetration. Metal barrette holding Anna's blood-matted hair together. Each mundane object transformed into an instrument of death, distances and trajectories figured with computer speed. Humanity drained from the equation, leaving only physics and terminal ballistics. What followed happened faster than neural pathways could process. The glass shelf exploded under his palm like Arctic ice under pressure, the crack sharp as gunfire in the tiled space. He caught the longest shard before gravity could claim it, 8 inches of jagged death that sang through air with deadly purpose. The makeshift blade found the scarred throat like a heat-seeking missile, opening the carotid artery in a fountain of arterial spray that painted abstract art on white porcelain. The target dropped, hands clutching uselessly at his ruined neck, trying to scream through a windpipe that could only produce wet gurgles. Blood pumped between his fingers with each failing heartbeat, pooling on tiles that had never seen violence this intimate. The remaining 2 abandoned their assault, animal instinct finally overriding lust. The second man dove for his weapon, but Wick was already flowing across blood-slicked tile like mercury finding its level. His hand swept past Anna's head with predatory efficiency, ripping the metal barrette free and taking strands of dark hair with it. She collapsed backward with a whimper of pain as the clip found its new purpose, a 2-inch spike of hardened steel that punched through cornea and orbital bone with a wet pop that echoed off bathroom walls. The improvised weapon lodged in gray matter with the satisfying resistance of blade meeting butter. Momentum drove the dying man's face into porcelain, forcing the barrette deeper until something vital gave way, with the sound of twigs snapping underfoot. The last predator's hands finally closed around his Glock, bringing it up in a desperate arc that moved through molasses compared to Wick's liquid violence. He was halfway through the motion when Wick's fingers found the soap dispenser cap, industrial steel with threading designed to resist pressure. The makeshift spike sank into the eye socket like a nail driven by a pneumatic hammer, penetrating soft tissue and bone like clockwork. The satisfying crunch of orbital fracture transmitted up Wick's arm as the man's scream died in his throat, replaced by the wet sounds of catastrophic brain trauma. The Glock clattered to tile as its owner collapsed, convulsing like a laboratory specimen, limbs jerking in the primitive patterns of a nervous system shutting down. Blood and vitreous fluid leaked from his ruined socket, mixing with tears and the saliva that foamed at his lips. His screams started building in his chest, but Wick was already moving. The cleaning cloth from his janitor's uniform found its way between teeth, driven deeper by a clean strike that shattered dental work with the sound of stepping on ice. Blood and fragments of enamel spilled over lips as the man thrashed, caught between the need to scream and the instinct to breathe. Anna watched her would-be rapist writhe on ceramic tile, his remaining eye wild with the same terror she'd felt moments before. For one surreal heartbeat, she found herself understanding his horror, the primal fear of being utterly helpless. The moment shattered as quickly as it formed. Wick's fingers wrapped around the man's throat like a steel collar, pinning him against the wall. His peripheral vision caught Anna's trembling form, noting how she held herself together despite the trauma. His index finger pressed against his lips, warning and promise combined. Survival instinct overcame agony as the man forced his screams down to whimpers. "I'm going to ask questions," Wick said, his voice carrying the flat authority of absolute control. "Shout, and I kill you. Understand?" Frantic nodding. Wick studied the man's face, reading truth in desperate submission. He loosened his grip just enough to allow speech and removed the bloody gag. "What's the plan for Carlos?" Hesitation. Fatal mistake. The cloth went back in and Wick's fist connected like a piston. Teeth cracked like porcelain under stress. Blood and fragments sprang across tile in a Jackson Pollock of pain. The man's skull bounced off the wall, his vision swimming in red. "To kill him," he gurgled through shattered enamel when the gag was removed. "Where?" "Fourth floor, ambassador's suite, no cameras there." "How many operatives total?" 15. 3 here." His eyes flicked to his cooling companions. 8 on third, 2 guarding fourth corridor, 3 in the suite. Wick processed the intelligence with professional detachment. Weapons? Automatic. Explosives. Chemicals for cleanup. Wick was just confirming what he already knew in most cases, but it was important to find anything that he and the team might have missed. The interrogation continued, each answer extracted through careful applications of pain. Location of disposal materials, extraction routes, command structure. Each, "I don't know," was tested against the man's threshold and found genuine. "The ambassador, is he okay with this?" "Coerced but cooperating." "Thank you for your cooperation." Wick's professional courtesy preceded the end. His hand moved with robotic efficiency, driving the improvised spike deeper into the ruined eye socket until it punctured the frontal lobe. The man's body performed its final dance, limbs jerking in primitive patterns before stillness claimed him. Wick rose slowly, surveying his handiwork with the detached satisfaction of a craftsman examining completed work. 3 cooling bodies on white tile, each death serving tactical necessity. At the sink, water ran pink over his hands as he washed away the evidence of intimate violence. In the mirror, his reflection showed the same ice-blue eyes, but something in them had crystallized. The rage at his parents' abandonment transformed into purposeful killing. Chapter 25. In the grimy mirror's reflection, Wick observed Anna still frozen against the wall, her eyes wide with the primal terror of someone who'd just witnessed civilization stripped away to reveal the predator beneath. He closed his eyes, letting familiar stillness wash over him like ice water. The rage that had been burning in his chest, that constant gnawing fury at abandonment, ebbed for just a moment, replaced by crystal clarity. Professional priorities reasserted themselves. He knelt beside the bodies, methodically searching pockets with the efficiency of a battlefield scavenger. His fingers found tactical intelligence, wallets with false identifications, spare magazines loaded with hollow-point rounds, encrypted sat phones still warm from body heat, and operational currency in euros and dollars. He collected the items systematically, leaving the corpses but taking their secrets. "You okay?" He approached Anna slowly, hands visible and non-threatening, the same care he'd use approaching a wounded animal. She scrambled back instinctively until the wall stopped her retreat. When he extended his hand, she let him pull her upright, her fingers ice-cold against his palm despite the warm blood that had spattered them both. "Anna, I need to ask questions, then I'm getting you somewhere safe." His voice carried command authority tempered with genuine concern. "Why did they want to kill you?" "I walked into the ambassador's office and saw them threatening Carlos." Her voice was steadier now, shock giving way to survivor's pragmatism. "When I demanded answers, this happened." She casually missed the part where she knew that she had met both Joaquin and Felipe yesterday in Carpio's office. "I have to move quickly. More hostiles could arrive any minute." Wick crossed to the janitor's closet, opening it to reveal a cramped but secure hiding space. Clean towels from the upper shelf went into her trembling hands. "You hide here. Someone from my team will come back, but until then, you make no sound. Whatever happens, gunfire, explosions, screaming, you stay hidden. Understand?" She nodded, accepting the towels like life preservers. "Cell phone? Anything that makes noise?" "Lost it in the struggle." Good. It'll be dark, but you stay put until one of us comes back. He helped her settle into the cramped space, ensuring she was as comfortable as possible given the circumstances of hiding among industrial cleaning supplies while corpses cooled nearby. The closet door clicked shut, sealing her in darkness but relative safety. Wick turned back to survey the scene. Intelligence gathered, witness secured, immediate threat neutralized. Time to re-establish operational contact and deal with the consequences of going off mission. He retrieved his earpiece, switching it back online. The familiar hiss of encrypted communication filled his ear like a technological lifeline. "Can you hear me?" His whisper barely disturbed the air. Static crackled before clearing. "Jesus Christ, Wick, where the hell have you been?" Mac's voice carried relief mixed with professional fury and barely controlled panic. "Affirmative contact." Jessica and Stan's voices followed, their tones sharp with the tension of operators who'd lost their teammate in hostile territory. "I hope Mac briefed you on the situation?" "We know you went dark and deviated from operational parameters." Jessica's command voice carried steel wrapped in ice. "Please tell me you haven't created another Iran situation." "Negative. Situation contained, intelligence gathered, friendly rescued." Wick's professional tone brooked no argument, while the metallic scent of blood filled his nostrils. "I have actionable intelligence on enemy strength and positions." A pause that stretched like taut wire before Jessica responded, "Copy that. Assessment?" 3 hostile KIA on second floor, 15 total enemy strength confirmed, 8 on third with automatic weapons, 2 guarding fourth corridor, 3 in Ambassador's suite with Carlos. Ambassador cooperating under coercion. Mac's voice cut through with digital urgency. "Wick, I'm showing CCTV blackout across multiple floors. They've killed surveillance in the control room." "Confirmed, they're operating in communication blackout. We're blind on internal surveillance." "Can you restore visual?" Jessica's tactical mind was already adapting to new parameters. "Negative unless someone manually reconnects it in the control room," Mac replied with the frustration of a digital warrior reduced to educated guessing. Wick processed the tactical situation with the cold logic of a chess master seeing 3 moves ahead. "New operational parameters. Jessica, sweep first floor, especially Ambassador's office area. I'll complete second floor clearance. Stan, maintain overwatch on third but do not engage unless fired upon. We clear lower floors before ascending to target location." "Copy," Stan's voice acknowledged. "But are you sure this isn't Iran?" "This isn't Iran." Wick's voice carried absolute certainty backed by fresh blood on his hands. "We proceed with enhanced mission parameters." Jessica's voice held reluctant approval, mixed with the recognition that deviation had actually strengthened their position. "Understood. All units, weapons free but maintain fire discipline. We clear and advance systematically. No deviations from operational command structure." "Affirmative," came the coordinated response that marked professional adaptation to battlefield realities. Mac's voice provided final tactical update. "Carlos is now moving to the Ambassador's suite on 4th floor. 3 hostiles with him, unknown weapons status. Time is critical. They could execute at any moment." "Copy all," Wick confirmed, stepping over cooling corpses as he moved toward the door. "Initiating second floor clearance. Stand by for systematic advance to target." The team had absorbed the intelligence, adapted to circumstances, and maintained operational integrity. Unlike Iran, this deviation had strengthened their tactical position rather than compromising it. But the clock was ticking in measured heartbeats, and Carlos's life hung in the balance 4 floors above, while the building filled with the metallic scent of fresh violence. Chapter 26. Jessica crouched in the first-floor pantry, breathing in the metallic tang of industrial coffee grounds mixed with the chemical bite of cleaning supplies. She eased the door open with the patience of a sniper waiting for the perfect shot, hinges mercifully silent on well-oiled pins. The first floor sprawled before her like an abandoned theater set waiting for actors who would never arrive. Her tactical mind mapped the killing ground with mathematical precision, sterile reception area offering minimal cover, but clear sight lines across polished marble. The ambassador's office dominated the floor plan like a concrete bunker. Its mahogany door reinforced with steel plates and positioned for maximum defensive advantage. Twin elevators stood sentinel, their brushed steel surfaces reflecting fluorescent lights that hummed with electronic menace. And there, the ambassador's private elevator, a direct arterial line to his fourth-floor suite where Carlos had been taken to be systematically eliminated and disposed of. Her tactical radio whispered like a lover's promise. "Overwatch, this is ground floor. Beginning systematic clearance. Radio discipline in effect." "Copy, ground floor." Mac's voice responded through military-grade encryption. "Thermal shows minimal heat signatures your level. Proceed with extreme caution." Jessica's fingers wrapped around her Sig Sauer P320, the textured polymer grip molding to her palm like an old lover's touch. She moved toward the restroom nearest Carpio's office, each step placed to avoid the floorboard creaks she'd memorized during entry. At the threshold, she became pure predator, every nerve ending tuned for danger, every muscle coiled tight as a loaded spring. The conference room squatted to her left like a glass-walled trap. Its polished mahogany table could provide solid cover, but those floor-to-ceiling windows would fragment under gunfire, creating a shrapnel storm of flying glass that would turn the room into a blender. She noted the heavy bronze paperweights scattered across the table, the ornate letter opener gleaming under harsh light, improvised weapons for when bullets ran out. The PA's office waited on her right, filing cabinets offering better ballistic protection than the conference room's transparent death trap. She chose this route, the SIG's suppressed muzzle leading her through shadows that seemed to move with malevolent purpose. Empty, only the scent of expensive perfume and the lingering aroma of fear sweat. Carpio's office remained, the lion's den where diplomatic immunity became a meaningless concept. Her fingers had just brushed the cool metal doorknob when the distinctive mechanical whir of the ambassador's private elevator erupted behind the reinforced door. Gears grinding, counterweights shifting, cables singing under tension. Someone was moving between floors like a predator changing hunting grounds. "Overwatch, this is ground floor," she whispered into her throat mic. "Private elevator active. Movement detected between floors." Mac was right. "Copy, maintain position and observe." But someone was coming. Chapter 27. Jessica melted back into the PA's office like smoke finding shadow, easing the door shut with the care of a bomb tech cutting wires. The latch barely whispered as she engaged the lock with gentle pressure. Her tactical pouch yielded a fiber optic surveillance device, military-grade equipment no larger than a pencil tip, connected to a credit card-sized display via cable thinner than human hair. She threaded the microscopic lens through the gap beneath the door where carpet met Italian marble, the high-definition imagery painting a crystal-clear picture of the lobby's killing field. The ambassador's office door groaned open on hinges that had witnessed decades of diplomatic lies, and Jessica immediately retracted the scope with practiced efficiency. Darkness enveloped her as two voices crystallized in the hallway, each word carrying the weight of actionable intelligence. "You don't understand. You can't kill him here. It'll create an international shitstorm." Ambassador Carpio's voice cracked like thin ice over deep water, diplomatic composure dissolving into raw terror. "We're here to complete a job and we'll finish it one way or another." The second voice carried the mechanical precision of a man who'd killed so often that murder had become routine maintenance. "I've already deployed one of our assets outside wearing Carlos's jacket and glasses. The surveillance cameras recorded perfect footage. For the world's eyes, Carlos Cruz Diaz left this embassy 43 minutes after arrival." Her tactical computer processed the intelligence like a slot machine hitting jackpot. False exit established. Timeline manipulation through visual deception, operational security through misdirection. Regarding the woman, eliminate any record of her presence today. She called in sick. You have no knowledge of her whereabouts. That's your story, and you'll stick to it, or Joaquin will demonstrate why dissent during active operations is inadvisable. The pause carried the weight of unspoken violence. Threats that didn't need articulation between professionals who understood the currency of fear. Do I make myself clear, Ambassador? Crystal. Carpio's voice barely qualified as human speech. Metal hinges screamed once more, followed by the solid thud of reinforced oak slamming shut. Jessica counted off 60 seconds in her head, tactical breathing, heartbeat steady as a metronome, before deploying the fiber optic scope again. The lobby remained vacant, no thermal signatures, no movement. She pressed her throat mic with the reverence of someone handling live explosives. Overwatch, this is ground floor. Priority intelligence gathered. False exit protocol confirmed for primary asset. One hostile extracted wearing target's clothing to establish false timeline. Request immediate analysis of external surveillance feeds. Mac's voice crackled back through encrypted channels. Copy. Ground floor. Processing intel. This explains the timeline discrepancies I've been tracking. Clever bastards. The tactical math ran through her mind like bullets finding targets. Investigate the ambassador's office again or maintain current position for Overwatch. The room could be booby-trapped or worse, occupied by patient killers waiting for exactly this mistake. She chose survival over curiosity, pressing against the PA's office wall like a shadow seeking darkness. Second floor, this is ground floor, sitrep. Wick's voice came through steady as a sniper's breathing. Second floor cleared. 3 hostiles permanently neutralized. If they deployed a decoy wearing Carlos's clothing, that confirms our initial count of 15 total hostiles. 3. KIA. On my floor. Leaves 12 active threats, plus 1 compromised ambassador. They're playing games with time and perception. Third floor status report. Wick's voice carried the authority of someone who'd earned command through violence rather than rank. Stan's response carried tension like a drawn bowstring. Third floor south wing. Limited visibility. No external confirmation of hostile positions. Ground floor, locate and restore CCTV control on your level. We need those cameras operational before the next phase. Wick's improvised battle plan took shape over their encrypted channel like a work of tactical art. Overwatch. Once visual surveillance is restored, initiate comprehensive threat assessment. We need real-time intelligence on remaining hostile disposition. The strategy Jessica heard outlined over the next 90 seconds would have made chess grandmasters weep with admiration and enemies weep with terror. Chapter 28. Where the fuck is Matthias? Joaquin's voice sliced through the fourth-floor suite's tension like a chainsaw through bone. That incompetent shit should have reported back by now. If he can't handle one terrified woman, what good is he? The ambassador's private suite reeked of violence and expensive cologne, Italian leather furniture now serving as an impromptu torture chamber. Carlos slumped in his chair like a broken marionette, industrial zip ties cutting circulation to his hands until his fingers turned purple. His face resembled raw hamburger, purple bruises mapping recent violence across swollen features. His left eye had sealed shut like a rotten fruit. Get a head count and raise Matthias on comms, Joaquin ordered Felipe, each word sharp as surgical steel. And what's the status on the disposal materials? Johan confirms the acid truck ETA. 18 minutes out, Felipe replied, keeping his voice neutral to avoid becoming Joaquin's next stress outlet. Joaquin's fingers worked his temples in small circles, stress fractures showing in his operational mask. The absence of regular check-ins was making him paranoid, a dangerous state for a man whose default response to problems involved bullets and blades. Felipe quietly activated his encrypted sat phone, requesting status reports from all operational units. 10 voices crackled back through military-grade encryption, each confirming position and readiness, all except Matthias and his 2-man search team. Nicoli, Felipe barked into the communication device, his voice carrying the authority of imminent violence. Find Matthias. Last known position, 2nd floor north wing. Take your team and investigate. Full tactical engagement rules. Shoot anything that moves and isn't wearing our colors. 2 floors below, Wick had positioned himself in the multilateral secretariat's domain, mahogany furniture and diplomatic memorabilia providing excellent tactical advantages. The office offered solid hardwood desk for ballistic cover, multiple exit routes, and clear fields of fire toward the corridor approach. When the fire exit's metal hinges groaned like tortured souls, his Beretta came up smooth as silk, muscle memory crushing conscious thought. The suppressor's weight felt right as morning coffee. They had to be searching for their missing teammates. The numbers were ugly and lethal. 3 sets of combat boots approached with military precision, methodically checking rooms and calling out names that would never answer again. The sound grew closer to Wick's position, each footfall a countdown to contact that would end in screaming or silence. He positioned himself behind the massive oak desk, the antique furniture providing solid protection against small arms fire. His breathing slowed to a sniper's rhythm, finger resting lightly on the Beretta's trigger with the intimacy of long practice. The office door's handle clicked softly, then froze as a sharp command echoed from the corridor. Someone called out coordinates, and the door stopped halfway open. Combat boots squealed against polished tile as the pointman executed a tactical withdrawal. They'd found the bathroom carnage. Wick knew the next move would be reporting to command structure. 3 mutilated corpses would escalate operational tempo to maximum violence. He shifted position, using the partially open door for concealment, while observing the corridor through the gap like a predator studying prey. One operative stood at the bathroom threshold, his posture conveying the shock of discovering systematic slaughter. 2 others advanced with professional caution, weapons ready, but minds still processing the implications of 3 dead teammates. The pointman, military buzzcut, scarred knuckles, professional weapon handling, reached for his sat phone to report the massacre. Wick's Beretta found the base of the man's skull, suppressor 18 inches from pay dirt. The subsonic 9mm round punched through bone like a railroad spike through wet cardboard, the bullet turning gray matter into pink soup before exploding out the front of his skull. The suppressed gunshot whispered no louder than a cough. The sat phone clattered against tile a microsecond before its owner collapsed like a puppet with severed strings, his death so sudden that his finger was still reaching for the device. The remaining 2 operatives hesitated, bad move in a knife fight with bullets. Wick had already read their moves, sized up their weapon handling, and planned who died first with the cold logic of a butcher. The nearest hostile carried himself like a team leader. Straight shoulders, command presence, professional grip on his weapon. Priority target. He was spinning toward Wick's position, his Glock rising in textbook combat stance, too slow for the intimacy of killing at conversational distance. The second suppressed round caught him center mass, the hollow point bullet punching through his sternum and exploding his heart like a water balloon filled with blood. The hydrostatic shock liquefied his aorta, sending a geyser of arterial spray across the corridor wall in abstract patterns. He dropped hard as gravity claimed him, his weapon discharging a wild round that shattered fluorescent fixtures, sparks and glass fragments raining down like deadly confetti. The third operative recognized his tactical opportunity and seized it with professional desperation. He dove left while engaging, his Glock's unsuppressed report thundering in the confined space like a cannon shot. The 9mm slug chewed the doorframe into splinters of mahogany and plaster, missing Wick's head by inches, while wood fragments peppered his face like angry hornets. Instead of seeking cover like a rational human being, Wick exploded through the doorway with the controlled violence of a man who'd learned that aggression was often the best armor. The tactical surprise registered in his opponent's eyes for one critical fraction of a second, all the time a professional killer needed. From his low combat crouch, the Beretta found its mark like a heat-seeking missile. The third suppressed round entered through the man's right eye and blew out the back of his skull, painting the corridor wall with brain tissue, blood, and bone fragments that stuck to plaster like wet cement. Even with military-grade suppressors muffling 2 of the shots, the Glock's unsuppressed discharge and the wet sounds of bullets meeting flesh might have carried to upper floors. Wick held position in the killing ground, ears sharp for movement above, while his combat brain ran the numbers on odds and payback scenarios. The fire exit's distinctive metal screech shattered his concentration like glass breaking. More hostiles were mobilizing, drawn by the scent of blood and the promise of violence. Chapter 29. The muffled gunshots from the second floor sent Jessica's pulse spiking like a cardiac monitor during a heart attack. The suppressed shots had been barely audible whispers, but the single unsuppressed Glock report had echoed through the building's steel skeleton like thunder announcing an approaching storm. Second floor, this is ground floor. Shots fired. Confirm operational status. Her whisper into the throat mic carried controlled urgency wrapped around professional steel. Static hissed back like an angry serpent defending its nest. Wick's communication device was either damaged or deliberately offline. Both options equally terrifying in their implications. Overwatch, this is ground floor. Lost contact with second floor operative. CCTV restoration now critical priority. We're operating blind in a building full of killers. Ground floor, this is Overwatch. Mac's voice carried the strain of a man trying to resurrect dead technology. System reboot at 70% completion. These ancient processors are struggling with initialization protocols, like arthritic fingers trying to thread a needle. Moving to investigate second floor situation. If I don't report back in 5 minutes, assume I'm compromised. Copy ground floor. Exercise extreme caution. The thermal signatures are moving in patterns that suggest coordinated search operations. Jessica ghosted from the CCTV control room toward the fire escape stairs, her SIG's suppressed barrel leading through darkness that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. The steel door yielded silently to her tactical approach, revealing a corridor that reeked of cordite and fresh death. Polished marble floors would telegraph her movement like a neon sign, so she hugged the wall where carpet runners muffled her footsteps to whispers. Her tactical radio crackled with electronic static. Third floor, this is ground floor. Confirm your operational status. Ground floor, this is third floor. Stan's voice came through tight as piano wire. Heard the gunfire. Sounds like someone's having a party downstairs, investigating from my position. Negative third floor. Maintain current Overwatch position until we confirm hostile disposition. We don't need to lose another operator to curiosity. She began systematic room clearance, each door a potential gateway to hell. The first office yielded tactical intelligence. Torn snack packages scattered across a conference table like evidence of interrupted planning. 3 chairs pushed back hastily as if their occupants had left in a hurry. 2 tactical duffel bags sat open, revealing spare ammunition, Venezuelan identification documents, and enough plastic explosives to turn the building into rubble. A day-old copy of El Universal lay folded nearby, its headline screaming about American interference in South American affairs, the kind of propaganda that turned assassination into patriotic duty. Ground floor, confirm your position. Wick's voice cut through static like a blade through silk. Relief flooded her system like morphine hitting an exposed nerve. Second floor, confirm your tactical status. Mario Palazzo's office, second floor south wing, 3 hostile KIA in corridor outside. Situation contained but escalating rapidly. Moving to your position for tactical assessment and mutual support. She found Wick moments later, standing over 3 bodies in a corridor that looked like a slaughterhouse floor. Blood spatter decorated the walls in Rorschach patterns that would have made forensic analysts weep, and the metallic stench of death hung in the recycled air like incense at a funeral for humanity. Situation report, Jessica demanded, stepping carefully around expanding pools of blood that reflected fluorescent light like crimson mirrors. Engaged 3 hostiles conducting search operations for their missing teammates. Wick replied, his voice carrying the flat, emotional tone of professional detachment. They discovered the bathroom casualties and were attempting to report to command structure. 1 hostile managed to discharge an unsuppressed round before termination. Jessica noted the kill shots with professional admiration. Tight groupings that spoke of serious training, minimal ammo waste despite multiple targets, clean work despite close quarters chaos. The single damaged fluorescent fixture flickered like a dying candle, casting jumping shadows across the mess like candlelight at a wake. Overwatch, this is ground floor. Second floor secured. 6 total hostile KIA confirmed through direct action. Remaining threat assessment now critical. We've cut their operational strength by 40%, but the survivors are going to be extremely hostile and highly motivated. Mac's voice crackled back through their encrypted channel. Copy. Ground floor. CCTV restoration at 90%. Should have visual confirmation of remaining hostile positions within 2 minutes. But ground floor. Thermal imaging shows significant movement on the 4th floor. Multiple heat signatures converging on what appears to be the ambassador's private suite. Jessica and Wick exchanged glances across the killing ground, both understanding the tactical implications. Carlos was running out of time, and they were running out of building to clear. The real war was about to begin. Chapter 30. On the 3rd floor, the suppressed gunshots from below sent Stan's blood racing like ice water through a broken dam. Heavy boots thundered through the 3rd floor lobby moments later, multiple hostiles moving fast and mean. "Check each room, tear this place apart," a voice barked in accented English, followed by the crash of doors being kicked open and rooms getting violated. Stan's situation had gone to shit in a hurry. He couldn't win a firefight against multiple hostiles in this cramped space. His training kicked in. He pulled his Sig Sauer P320 from his waistband and buried it deep in the office wastepaper basket, covering it with crumpled documents. Grabbing floor cleaning supplies from his bucket, he retreated to the restroom. Desperate move, but his only play. He let his dark hair fall loose, hiding the communications earpiece, then dropped to his knees and began scrubbing floor tiles like his life depended on it. Which it did. Combat boots stopped at the bathroom entrance, heavy military-issue footwear that screamed professional training. "Identify yourself. What the hell are you doing here?" The voice carried authority and suspicion like twin blades. Stan looked up, painting surprise and confusion across his features. His janitor disguise had passed casual inspection before, but these weren't casual times. "Good morning, sir," he replied, his accent perfectly Austrian, tinged with working-class grime. "What are you doing here?" The operative stepped into the restroom, his hand drifting near his concealed weapon, a professional's instinct. "Cleaning tiles, sir," Stan replied, his English deliberately broken but understandable. "Everyone evacuated an hour ago," the man growled, suspicion rolling off him in waves. His eyes swept the bathroom like a radar sweep, noting cleaning supplies, checking for anything that didn't belong. Stan crafted bewilderment on his features like a master actor. "But supervisor told me nothing, sir. My radio also not working." He gestured toward the maintenance device clipped to his belt. "How long have you been in this room?" "This is 4th room, sir. Started early morning shift." The lie tasted like copper pennies on his tongue. "Did you hear anything unusual? Sounds, voices, gunshots?" Stan shook his head with practiced confusion. "What sounds, sir?" The operative studied him for long seconds, reading him like a book, weighing threat levels, running the math. "Your work is finished. Stand up and get the hell out of the building, now." "But, sir," Stan began, staying in character. "But what?" The voice carried warning like a loaded gun. "Nothing, sir." He gathered his cleaning supplies with practiced efficiency. "Wash hands first?" He displayed his palms like a servant asking permission. The man's curt nod sent Stan to the sink. In the mirror's reflection, he watched the operative muttering into a communication device, his eyes never leaving Stan's back. Professional surveillance, but the kind that suggested suspicion rather than certainty. "Good night, sir." Stan dried his hands on his coveralls, the hostile still deep in his encrypted conversation. The 3rd floor lobby stretched empty before him, doors standing open like hungry mouths where his hunters had conducted their search. He turned toward the stairwell, moving like a tired janitor heading home. Behind him, the operative's voice drifted. "Cleaning crew member located. Appears legitimate." A crack in the door. Stan picked up his pace toward the stairs when a new presence materialized in the lobby, a second operative whose instincts were sharper than broken glass. "Wait." The command froze Stan in place like a gunshot. The second man emerged from shadow, his hand instinctively moving to hide a holstered weapon, a professional's reflex that gave away his training. Stan caught the motion, his own combat brain recognizing the tell. The first operative noticed Stan's moment of recognition, the split second of understanding that no civilian janitor should possess. "Who are you?" the second man demanded, his voice carrying the promise of violence. "I am..." Stan's rehearsed cover story died in his throat as both operatives closed distance like wolves. Change of plans, the first operative announced. You're coming with us for some conversation. Where, sir? Stan's stutter carried genuine fear now. Johann pat him down. The operative named Johann advanced with professional efficiency, his hands moving over Stan's body like a cop searching for weapons. Subject is clean. Stan stayed compliant, feeling their attention like crosshairs painting his skin. His training screamed at him to fight, but the math was clear. 2 armed professionals versus 1 unarmed operative in close quarters. Stan? His earpiece crackled to life with Jessica's voice. His hand jerked reflexively upward, an instinctive response that betrayed years of tactical training. Iron fingers clamped around his wrist like steel manacles. Gun muzzles materialized, pressing cold steel promises against his forehead and temple. Johann, search that room again, the lead operative commanded. Without warning, a brutal strike targeted the pressure point behind Stan's knee, sending him crashing to the polished floor, his kneecap striking tile with a crack that echoed like breaking bone. This is some professional-grade cleaning equipment, Johann announced, emerging with Stan's Sig Sauer P320, held like evidence of war crimes. Forget something else? Cold steel pressed against Stan's temple, accompanied by a predator's smile that promised pain in generous portions. Through their encrypted earpieces, Wick and Jessica heard Stan's cries of pain echo through the static, a countdown timer beginning its deadly descent toward 0. Chapter 31. Sit rep on 3rd floor operative. Mac's voice crackled through their encrypted communications, tension bleeding through the digital compression like blood through bandages. Unknown status. Worst case scenario. Stan's cover at the 3rd floor is blown. Wick replied, his words carrying the weight of cold steel. Whatever the situation, our timeline just went critical. Switch to backup frequency. Copy switching now. Mac's acknowledgement carried his understanding of how deep in the shit they were. Status on CCTV restoration? Ground floor operative completed system restart, but the hardware is ancient history. Processors grinding through initialization like dying machinery. Need more time for full capacity. Time we don't have. Once cameras are up, priority target. Locate Stan and assess hostile disposition. Understood. Working the problem. Maintain calm discipline. Talk soon. The encrypted channel went silent except for the whisper of static and the weight of tactical urgency pressing against their timeline like a countdown to hell. Chapter 32. 4th floor suite. We have bagged an infiltrator. The words sliced through Felipe's encrypted earpiece like a combat knife finding flesh. He pressed the communication device closer to his ear. Repeat your last. We have captured an infiltrator on 3rd floor. Felipe's obsidian eyes locked with Joaquin's predatory stare. A slight nod from their operational commander was all the authorization Felipe needed. What's the subject's status? Felipe demanded. Posed as cleaning crew, but we recovered professional-grade communications equipment and a Sig Sauer P320 from his position. U.S. military-grade hardware. Felipe relayed the intelligence to Joaquin, whose expression shifted from irritation to lethal focus. The operation had been locked down tight, known only to Joaquin's team and their handler Enrique, back in Caracas. Even Ambassador Carpio had received information piece by piece like feeding scraps to a dog. The security breach couldn't have come from the broken diplomat. Felipe's gaze shifted to Carlos, slumped in his chair like a beaten dog. Not him either. He'd been under constant watch since entering the building. So how had this ghost slipped into their operation? Bring the subject to our position now, Felipe commanded into his communication device. The reinforced door's hinges screamed as 3 operatives dragged their prize into the diplomatic suite, a figure in stained maintenance coveralls. Stan's left eye had swollen shut, angry purple bleeding into sick yellow. Fresh blood trickled from his split lip, yet something dangerous flickered behind his good eye. A professional's defiance that made Joaquin's fingers twitch toward his holstered weapon. Carlos's sharp intake of breath cut through the tension like shattered glass. Stan registered him with peripheral vision, a broken man whose spirit had been systematically destroyed over the past several hours. Death had already claimed Carlos mentally. His body just hadn't gotten the memo. Stan's tactical assessment was lightning quick and brutal. 6 hostiles, including the sweating ambassador, multiple Glocks in evidence, 2 Remington 12-gauge pump-action shotguns positioned like deadly furniture, and towering above them all like a monument to violence, the scarred face of Joaquin Thomas, the operative whose reputation preceded him through intelligence circles like a disease. "Identify yourself." Joaquin's words carried the promise of systematic agony. "I am from cleaning crew," Stan replied, his manufactured Austrian accent flawless. Each second of maintained deception bought Wick and Jessica additional time. Since when do cleaning crews carry Sig Sauers and military-grade comm equipment? Joaquin's laughter held no warmth, only the promise of escalating brutality. His hand shot out like a striking cobra, fingers crushing Stan's windpipe like a vice. "Listen carefully, you piece of shit. If I have to ask this question again, I'll put so much lead in your skull your handlers won't be able to scrape together enough DNA for identification. We clear?" The threat carried the stench of authenticity. Stan could smell previous violence on the man like gunpowder residue and dried blood. Time crystallized as he weighed his options. Joaquin caught the calculation in Stan's eyes, recognizing a professional's assessment of impossible odds. Without warning, he raised Stan's own Sig Sauer and squeezed the trigger. The 9mm round tore through muscle and exploded bone, painting Stan's thigh red like abstract art. His scream echoed off the suite's mahogany walls like a wounded animal's death cry. "Who are you?" Each word dropped like a sledgehammer against concrete. Stan's breath came in ragged gasps, shock and blood loss warring with his training. For the first time in his professional career, the math was clear. Death wasn't just probable. It was approaching with the certainty of sunrise. Bam, bam. 2 more gunshots thundered from somewhere below, shaking dust from the suite's ornate ceiling like deadly snow. Chapter 33. 4th floor suite. Rage transformed Joaquin's scarred features into something inhuman, primal violence bleeding through his professional mask like pus through infected wounds. "God damn you!" he roared, squeezing 2 more 9mm rounds into Stan's leg. The bullets shattered his femur like kindling and tore through muscle like hot knives through butter, Stan's screams climbing octaves as agony overwhelmed his nervous system like a tidal wave of liquid fire. The kick came next, a brutal arc of motion powered by years of rage and professional sadism. Stan managed to close his eyes before the combat boot exploded against his chest like a wrecking ball. Pain detonated through his rib cage, several ribs cracking like dry twigs as he skidded across the polished hardwood floor. Blood loss and shock were draining his consciousness, the world fading to smears of color and shadow like a painting left in the rain. I bloody told you this would happen." Ambassador Carpio's panic filled the air like toxic gas, his diplomatic composure finally shattered like cheap china. Joaquin ignored the terrified diplomat, rubbing his temples with trembling hands while his breathing came in ragged gasps like a man drowning in air. His final operational assignment was unraveling like a cheap suit in a hurricane. "Find them! Whoever they are, I want every one of these bastards dead!" he roared at Felipe, who snapped into motion like a compressed spring released. 2 floors below, the gunshots shattered Vienna's evening peace like artillery fire. Pedestrians scattered across cobblestones like startled birds, cell phones already summoning emergency services. Jessica and Wick worked with machine-like efficiency in their 2nd-floor position. The tactical equipment bag from the janitor's closet now lay open between them like a military arsenal. Wick commanded the south corridor while Jessica controlled the north, their overlapping fields of fire covering every potential approach: elevators, main staircase, fire escape routes. Jessica detected them first, the thunder of combat boots in the fire escape stairwell, echoed by heavy movement near Wick's position. "Showtime," she whispered, triggering 3 M18 smoke grenades. Their hissing filled the corridor with artificial fog that reduced visibility to arm's length. In the surveillance vehicle across the street, Mac and Jacob's hearts hammered like trip hammers as police sirens grew closer, their electronic wails cutting through Vienna's night like banshees announcing death. "We need to move from this position." Jacob's voice carried barely controlled terror. "Negative, can't risk severing the communications link now. Exit the vehicle, pop the hood, make it look like a breakdown," Mac ordered, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards like a concert pianist playing for his life. Felipe froze at the stairwell's edge, staring into the smoke-choked corridor below. The artificial fog roiled like something alive, illuminated by emergency lighting that cast everything in hellish red like the gates of damnation. "Johan, confirm your position," he spoke into his sat phone. "In position behind fire exit door, visibility shot to hell by smoke deployment. Assessment of engagement parameters. Cannot confirm hostile position, smoke too thick." A shadow darted from the main staircase toward the fire exit, movement barely visible through the artificial fog, like a ghost seeking vengeance. Both tactical teams opened fire, their automatic weapons painting the darkness with muzzle flashes like deadly fireworks. Brass casings chimed against floor tiles like deadly wind chimes, singing songs of death. The shadow vanished through a door that slammed shut with metallic finality. "Target contained in South Conference Room, moving to surround." Johan hissed into his communication device like a snake tasting blood. His team took positions while Felipe's group advanced through the choking smoke. Inside the conference room, Jessica surveyed the side alley through reinforced windows. Unlike the chaos erupting on the main street, police vehicles, emergency services, growing crowds, the narrow alley remained deserted except for parked cars under sodium lighting. Perfect for tactical extraction. She holstered her weapon and slipped onto the exterior ledge, her body pressed against cold brick as she inched toward an adjacent room's open window. The building's facade offered minimal handholds, but her tactical training included urban climbing techniques learned in places where falling meant dying. Once inside the neighboring office, she waited like a spider in her web for Wick's coordinated signal. Felipe's hand signal sent Johan's team forward like hunting wolves scenting blood. The conference room door handle turned, swinging wide to reveal interior darkness like the mouth of hell itself. Johan entered in tactical crouch, his team following in professional formation through the choking smoke. Emergency lighting illuminated empty space, polished conference table, leather chairs, no hostile presence, just the scent of cordite and the promise of violence. Across the smoke-filled lobby, Wick emerged from concealment like death walking on two legs. His Heckler & Koch UMP-45 came up to chest level, the weapon's 45 ACP rounds designed for maximum stopping power in close quarters. Bullets that would punch through body armor and turn human tissue into hamburger. Two silhouettes pressed against his side of the corridor, perfect targets backlit by emergency lighting like clay pigeons at a shooting gallery. The submachine gun roared to life, its cyclic rate of 600 rounds per minute turning the confined space into a slaughterhouse. The suppressor reduced muzzle flash, but couldn't eliminate the mechanical violence of steel core bullets punching through human tissue like hammers through wet paper. Felipe's body jerked like a marionette with cut strings as multiple rounds stitched across his torso, blood spraying in arterial patterns across the smoke-stained walls, like Jackson Pollock's final masterpiece painted in crimson. His sat phone skittered across blood-slicked tiles like a hockey puck on ice, its encrypted signal dying with its operator. "Two hostile KIA, lobby secure," Wick confirmed, his UMP trained on the doorway like a mechanical predator waiting for more prey. Johan's communication device crackled to life. "Sitrep request." Joaquin's voice carried no emotion. Professional command under extreme stress. "Felipe is down. Hostile contact confirmed." The silence that followed carried the weight of bad math. Their operational advantage was evaporating like morning mist in hell. Jessica moved the moment she received Wick's hand signal, sliding through window frames toward the fire escape like a predator stalking prey. Her tactical plan required split-second timing and absolute precision. Johan saw the first grenade roll through his doorway like a metallic egg of death, promising rebirth through violence. Military training kicked in. He lunged toward the window as the M67 fragmentation grenade detonated. The explosion caught his team mid-leap, turning the conference room into a charnel house of shrapnel and flame that would have made medieval executioners weep with joy. Bodies arced through Vienna's night air, trailing fire and blood like human meteors, 3 burning comets that gravity claimed on the cobblestones below, with wet sounds that echoed off ancient buildings. Emergency medical teams rushed forward, their equipment rattling against stone as they attempted triage on meat that had once been men. Television crews outside captured everything: automatic weapons fire, twin explosions, burning bodies plummeting from diplomatic windows like fallen angels cast from heaven. Police radios chattered with increasing desperation as military-grade violence erupted in Vienna's most peaceful district, transforming it into an urban battlefield where questions would be asked and answered in blood and fire. Chapter 34. Fourth-floor suite. The twin explosions shuddered through the soundproofed suite like the gates of hell cracking open. Joaquin stared at the dead sat phone in his hand, reality sinking in like cold poison. His men were gone, butchered by ghosts. Fear rippled across his remaining team's faces like a disease, none eager to face an invisible enemy who killed with surgical brutality. What now? Carpio's voice quivered like a plucked guitar string. He swayed near the bed, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. The police are outside, the consulate is fucked, and you still have no clue who you're dealing with. Shut your mouth, you worthless piece of shit. Joaquin's teeth worried his lower lip like a dog gnawing bone. How dare you? I thought you were some mastermind, but... Carpio's voice climbed with each word, fear and rage fueling his backbone. He snatched the shotgun from the bed, its barrel wavering at Joaquin like an accusation. Everything's gone to hell. Your men are dead meat and you can't wrap your head around jack shit. You killed Ana. You're gonna kill Carlos and this man too. But this won't stop. The president will throw you to the wolves. You are The bullet cut his rant short like scissors through silk. His body arced backward, crashing onto the bed as the shotgun spiraled away, disappearing behind the steel headboard with a metallic clang that echoed like a death knell. Anyone else got something to say? Joaquin's eyes swept the room like searchlights hunting prey. Silence answered him like a slap. His gaze landed on Carlos, shaking like autumn leaves in a windstorm. Then to Stan's unconscious form, bleeding out on expensive carpet. It's all because of you. Should have put a bullet in your brain the moment I laid eyes on you. He spat at Carlos. Axel, any bright ideas? Desperation crept into Joaquin's voice like rot. Axel's head bobbed negative. Gail. Jorge? More silent denials. Shit. 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 Joaquin's helpless rage filled the room like toxic gas. His men exchanged glances. They'd seen his anger before, but never this complete loss of control. Today's mistakes were piling up like corpses. Carpio dead when he should have lived. Carlos breathing when he should be cold. Carpio had been their golden ticket out. Now he was just another cooling body. The sat phone erupted to life, making Joaquin jump like a startled cat. Even Carlos's head snapped up at the intrusion. I didn't want to kill you or your men, but I had to. The voice carried the calm of deep water. You can still live. Give me Carlos and the other guy and I'll walk away. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? I know exactly who I'm talking to. You want Carlos dead. I want him breathing, but now we both have a problem. Police are outside. The building's surrounded. There's no way for any of us to get out alive unless we help each other. Wick's voice through Felipe's sat phone carried the weight of cold mathematics. I'm not scared of death and I don't give a damn what you say. Carlos has to die and your friend's going with him. You can kill Carlos next week or next month, but not today. Today ain't your day. Talk to your bosses. Ask them what they want. I'll call you in 5 minutes. The line went dead like a severed artery. Second floor. What's your plan? Jessica's eyes searched Wick's face for answers. I'm going in. I want to meet this bastard before I put him down. You sure? Worry carved lines around her mouth like knife cuts. Go to the ambassador's office and do what we discussed. I'll be there soon. Copy. Her footsteps faded down the main stairs like whispers. Mac, when I say now, kill the electricity to the 4th floor. Wick's whisper barely disturbed the air. Roger that. The sat phone crackled back to life. You ask your bosses? Wick asked Slash. Why should I trust you? You got a better option? You killed a lot of my men. If I hadn't, they would have killed me. I still don't see a reason to trust you. One way or another, the cops will be in the building soon. You and I both don't have enough firepower to fight a battalion. Our survival depends on working together. Why Carlos? I took a contract to keep him breathing. I don't give a fuck if you kill him tomorrow. Once I'm out of here, he's not my problem. He's the passport to my payment. Dead Carlos is worthless to me. I can kill him and your friend right now. I think you shouldn't, because then I'll kill you and your men. Wick's voice carried the flat certainty of gravity. How dare you threaten me? Joaquin's roar made his men flinch like beaten dogs. The stranger was either insane or something far more dangerous. I've killed 11 of your men today, and I'm still in one piece talking to you. So, if it comes to that, don't kid yourself that I won't do it. Something in Wick's tone made Joaquin pause. His enemy spoke truth. Joaquin recognized the voice of a fellow killer. The unnerving part was the stranger's ice-cold calm after so much bloodshed. Wick's mind still worked like a precision instrument, while Joaquin's thoughts scattered like broken glass. The room gave Joaquin numbers, but numbers hadn't saved his other men. Who else is with you? His voice found a calmer register. Nobody. Come to the 4th floor, unarmed. One of my men will meet you outside and bring you in. If you try anything cute, I'll shoot you and everyone else you care about in this building. A heartbeat of silence. Deal. The line died, leaving Joaquin to wonder if he'd just invited death to his door. Chapter 35. 4th floor suite. Axel's calloused hands roughly searched Wick's body like a cop frisking a suspect, fingers probing for hidden weapons with practiced efficiency. He found the Beretta nestled against Wick's ribs, yanked it free, then shoved him hard into the suite. The door slammed shut with the finality of a tomb ceiling. Joaquin stood 10 feet from the entrance, a predator sizing up fresh meat. His men had already taken position, a deadly triangle that boxed Wick in with nowhere to run. Gale flanked left, fingers drumming against his holstered pistol. Jorge held the diagonal behind Joaquin, assault rifle cradled like a lover. Axel sealed the exit, blocking 220 pounds of muscle against the door. A brutal shove sent Wick stumbling forward, his tactical mind instantly cataloging the killing ground. 2,000 square feet of death waiting to happen. The steel-framed king bed dominated the center like an altar. Carpio's corpse, still bleeding into 1,000-thread-count Egyptian cotton. Heavy blackout drapes strangled every window, sealing them in this soundproofed tomb. The walls themselves were lined with acoustic foam, built for torture, designed to swallow screams whole. Carlos sat zip-tied to a wooden chair, his face beaten into abstract art. Blood ran from his split scalp, pooling in the hollow of his collarbone before dripping steadily onto his shredded shirt. Stan lay crumpled in the far corner like discarded trash, breathing so shallow his chest barely moved. A dark lake of blood spread beneath him across the marble floor. Ah! Joaquin's voice cut through the silence like a blade. His eyes raked over Wick with predatory hunger. Finally, I meet the man who butchered so many of my soldiers. Confidence oozed from every pore now that his enemy stood disarmed and outnumbered. Wick said nothing, his gaze dissecting Joaquin like a coroner examining a corpse. 6 feet of coiled violence wrapped in expensive cloth. Fluorescent light gleamed off his freshly shaved skull. A Glock 19 rested in his left hand with the familiarity of an old friend, but it was his eyes that told the real story. Flat, empty, holding all the warmth of a snake's belly. This was a man who killed for pleasure as much as profit. American? Joaquin probed, stepping closer. Wick jerked his chin toward the bound men. These are mine. Joaquin's face hardened into something carved from granite. I don't think so. His voice dropped to a whisper. You should have stayed out of my business. He exploded forward without warning, closing the distance in 2 massive strides. His fist launched toward Wick's face like a sledgehammer, knuckles reinforced with brass that caught the light. "Now!" Wick barked, throwing himself backward. 3 floors below, Mac's fingers flew across his keyboard, initiating the power grid hack. 3. Joaquin's brass knuckles whistled through air where Wick's head had been a heartbeat before. Wick caught the follow-up punch on his forearms, but the impact sent lightning bolts of pain shooting to his shoulders. The Glock swung up like death's own promise, muzzle tracking toward his chest. 2. Time crystallized like a photograph frozen mid-explosion. Wick could see the slight tightening around Joaquin's eyes, the micro-tension in his trigger finger. In that suspended moment, he was already moving, muscles coiling for the violence to come. 1. Darkness crashed down like the lid of a coffin slamming shut. Emergency lighting died, air conditioning wheezed to a stop. Even the digital clock's LED display winked out, leaving them in absolute blackness. Wick's eyes snapped closed, then opened, pupils dilating to drink in what little illumination remained. His night vision, honed by years of hunting in shadows, gave him precious seconds of advantage. Around him, panicked breathing and fumbling footsteps revealed his enemy's positions as clearly as spotlights. The muzzle flash came like lightning in a bottle, Joaquin firing blind into the darkness. But Wick was already gone, dropping flat against the cold marble as the bullet screamed overhead. He rolled hard left as 2 more shots shattered the air, plaster raining down like snow. From the door came Axel's confused shout, "Donde está?" The question ended in a wet gurgle. In the blackness, Wick had found him by sound alone, rising like a nightmare to drive his elbow deep into the man's throat. Cartilage crunched like eggshells. Axel's windpipe collapsed with a sound like stepping on bubble wrap. He crashed against the door, fingers clawing at his ruined neck as blood frothed from his lips. His death rattle was lost in the chaos. 1 down, 3 left. "Find him!" Joaquin's voice cracked like a whip. "Light the bastard up!" Muzzle flashes strobed the room like a broken strobe light as Jorge opened up with his rifle, spraying full auto into the darkness. Bullets chewed through drywall and steel, sparks flying where they found metal. Wick rolled behind the massive bed frame as rounds punched through the mattress above him, stuffing exploding like confetti. In the brief illumination of gunfire, he spotted Joaquin limping toward the window, favoring his left leg from an old wound. The man's shadow danced across the wall, Glock extended as he swept for targets. Gale had lost all discipline, screaming as he emptied his pistol magazine in wild panic. "I can't see! I can't fucking see!" Wick moved like smoke between the muzzle flashes, closing on Gale's position. The man's panicked breathing gave him away, short, rapid gasps of terror. Wick's hand shot out in the darkness, fingers finding Gale's gun wrist. A savage twist sent the pistol clattering across marble. Before Gale could react, Wick's other hand clamped over his mouth, stifling the scream. The K-bar appeared in Wick's fist like magic, 7 inches of black steel that had tasted blood in a dozen countries. He drove it up under Gale's ribs with surgical precision, angling toward the heart. The blade parted skin and muscle like water, sliding between bones to find the vital organs beneath. Gale's eyes went wide with shock, then gradually dimmed as his life pumped out through the wound. Wick held him upright until the struggles stopped, then lowered the corpse silently to the floor. 2 down, 2 left. Jorge's rifle had gone quiet, either reloading or jammed. In the relative silence, Wick could hear Joaquin's labored breathing from across the room, the slight scrape of his shoe against marble as he repositioned. "You think you're some kind of ghost?" Joaquin's voice echoed off the walls. "I've killed ghosts before, Americano. I'll nail your hide to my wall." A new sound cut through the darkness, the metallic snap of Jorge slamming a fresh magazine home. Wick was already moving when the rifle barked again, walking a line of bullets across the room like deadly footsteps. He rolled behind a heavy dresser as wood exploded around him, splinters drawing blood across his cheek. But Jorge had given away his position. Wick launched himself across the room in a diving tackle, hitting the gunman at waist level. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs, the rifle spinning away into shadow. Jorge was bigger, heavier, but panic made him clumsy. His fist connected with Wick's jaw, a solid hit that sparked stars across his vision. Wick responded by driving his knee up between Jorge's legs with devastating force. The man's scream of agony was cut short as Wick's forearm pressed against his windpipe. Jorge bucked and thrashed like a landed fish, fingernails raking bloody furrows down Wick's arms. But Wick held on like a python, applying steady pressure until something vital gave way with a wet pop. Jorge's struggles faded to twitches, then nothing at all. 3 down. Joaquin left. The silence stretched taut as a wire. Somewhere in the darkness, Joaquin was hunting him with the patience of a professional. Wick could hear his own heartbeat, could smell the copper tang of blood and the acrid smoke of gunpowder. His hands came away sticky when he wiped his face. "Just you and me now," Joaquin whispered from the shadows. His voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, echoing off the soundproofed walls. "Mano, a mano, like real men." A floorboard creaked to Wick's left, or was it right? The acoustics played tricks in the darkness. Wick shifted position, muscle memory guiding him around obstacles he couldn't see. His searching fingers found something hard and familiar. Carpio's shotgun, fallen beside the bed. The weight felt good in his hands, shells solid in the tube. More movement, closer now, the distinctive whisper of fabric against fabric as Joaquin closed the distance. Wick could almost smell the man's fear sweat mixing with expensive cologne. "I'm going to enjoy this," Joaquin breathed, so close Wick could feel the words against his ear. The Glock's muzzle flash lit up the room like lightning, revealing Joaquin's face twisted in concentration. The bullet grazed Wick's shoulder, fabric parting as hot lead kissed flesh. He spun away from the second shot, bringing the shotgun up in the same motion. Boom! The first blast caught Joaquin's center mass, 12-gauge buckshot shredding through his expensive suit like tissue paper. The impact lifted him off his feet, slamming him against the wall with enough force to crack the drywall. Blood sprayed across white paint in an abstract pattern Jackson Pollock would have admired. But Joaquin wasn't finished. Somehow he stayed upright, the Glock still clutched in his fist. Blood ran from his mouth as he raised the pistol with shaking hands. "Fuck you," he gasped, finger tightening on the trigger. Boom. The second barrel took off most of Joaquin's head, painting the wall behind him with bone fragments and brain matter. His body collapsed like a marionette with cut strings, the Glock clattering away into darkness. Emergency generators kicked in with a mechanical whine, fluorescent lights flickering to harsh life. The sudden illumination revealed the slaughter in stark detail, 4 bodies cooling in spreading pools of crimson. The air hung thick with cordite smoke and the metallic stench of violent death. Carlos stared at Wick with naked terror, taking in the blood-spattered figure who stood amid the carnage like some avenging demon. Wick's face was a mask of red, his clothes soaked with other men's blood. But his hands were steady as he reloaded the shotgun, movements mechanical and precise. In the corner, Jorge's leg still twitched with residual nerve activity. Boom! The final blast ended the movement, turning what remained of the gunman's head into vapor and memory. Wick stood in the sudden silence, chest rising and falling as adrenaline slowly bled from his system. 4 men dead in less than 3 minutes. Another day at the office in Sam Wick's world. Chapter 36. Ambassador's Office. The elevator's soft chime broke the tense silence in Carpio's office like a church bell announcing Judgment Day. Jessica stood ready, her cig angled down but hungry for targets, finger hovering near the trigger like a spider waiting for flies. Steel doors parted to reveal Carlos first, bloodied, limping, but breathing. Behind him, Wick emerged like a war god walking out of hell. Stan's limp form draped across his shoulder. Makeshift bandages, dark with seeping blood, wrapped Stan's wounds like red ribbons. "Everything's ready?" Wick's voice carried exhaustion that went deeper than physical fatigue. "Yes." Jessica moved forward, shouldering some of Stan's weight. His skin felt cold and clammy against her touch, like touching death itself. "You both go ahead, I need to clean up some loose ends," Wick said, his tone brooking no questions. "Copy." "Carlos, I need you to come with me." Wick gestured toward the door and they vanished into the hallway like ghosts. "Mac, I'll send you the location. Be ready." Jessica's whisper carried through the static. "Roger." Mac's excitement crackled back. The main stairs creaked under Wick and Carlos's weight as they climbed to the second floor. Carlos froze at the lobby's threshold, recoiling from the scene like a man seeing his own grave. The smoke had thinned, revealing a tableau of destruction. Bodies sprawled like broken dolls, walls pockmarked with bullet holes, the metallic stench of blood heavy in the air like copper pennies. For Carlos, a lifetime of human rights activism hadn't prepared him for this intimate dance with violence. "We need to move." Wick's hand on his shoulder jolted him back to reality, but Carlos noticed the slight tremor in those fingers, the first crack in the man's granite composure. Yeah. Sure. Carlos stammered, feet moving like a sleepwalker. "But where are we going?" "To that restroom." Wick indicated the door at the lobby's end. "Open it." The door swung open to reveal a crimson lake on white tile. 3 corpses lay twisted in death, their injuries speaking of brutal close combat. Carlos's hand flew to his mouth, bile rising in his throat like acid. "Can you open that?" Wick nodded toward the closet. Carlos picked his way through the blood, shoes leaving red prints behind like a trail of breadcrumbs. The closet door revealed Anna shrinking back in terror. "Anna?" Disbelief colored Carlos's voice. "Carlos." She launched into his arms, tears soaking his shirt like rain. "I thought you were dead." "I almost died. A man saved me and asked me to wait here." "Him?" Carlos stepped aside, but the doorway gaped empty. "Hello, you there?" Carlos's shout echoed unanswered through the death-filled space. The lobby stood deserted when they emerged, their footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "He was just here," Carlos said, bewilderment painting his voice. "Who?" Anna asked, though she already knew. The memory of ice-blue eyes and methodical violence flashed through her mind, making her hands shake. "The man who saved me, I didn't even get a chance to thank him." "Me too." Recognition flickered in her eyes like a struck match, followed immediately by fear. She'd seen what those hands could do. "Who else is alive?" "No one." "Carpio?" "Dead." Jesus. Her hand flew to her mouth, but inside, her analytical mind was already working. 16 dead. All the mercenaries eliminated by one man. The American was a force of nature disguised as a human being. "What should we do?" "Call the police," Anna said, authority returning to her voice even as her hands continued to tremble. "They're already outside." "I need to make some calls first. Wait here." Anna disappeared into the nearest office, leaving Carlos alone with his thoughts and the echoes of violence surrounding them like hungry ghosts. Chapter 37. 5 blocks from the consulate's chaos, Mac and Jacob found Jessica and Stan waiting beside an open steel cover in the ground, its rusty hinges betraying years of disuse. "Where's Wick?" "He's coming." Mac's eyes went to Stan's bandaged wounds. "You hanging in there?" Stan managed a weak nod, sweat beading on his pale forehead like morning dew. 15 minutes crawled by before Wick materialized from the darkness below, his clothes still carrying the metallic scent of fresh blood. "What were you doing down there?" Jessica asked, muscles straining as they slid the heavy cover back into place. "Cleaning house." Wick's cryptic response hung in the air as he climbed into the van, but Jessica caught the way his eyes avoided direct contact. The engine roared to life under Jakob's touch, tires crunching gravel. "What about Carlos?" "He's safe." "How did you find this passage?" Jakob's question broke through the tense silence. Mac caught Wick's guarded expression and Jessica's encouraging nod. "During my analysis of the consulate's blueprints, I spotted something weird. The wall behind the ambassador's chair was triple the normal thickness. Digging deeper, I found building layouts were modified 2 years ago, right when Carpio took over. The original plans showed standard width. While you 3 were out, Sam and I figured something had to be hidden in that fake wall." Jessica picked up the thread. "When Wick sent me to restart the CCTV system, he had me check the office first. Found a concealed door matching the wall's texture perfectly. Same security system as his private elevator. Needed Carpio's ID card. After Wick eliminated Joaquin, he grabbed the ambassador's credentials and passed them to me. But why a secret tunnel? Jakob's hands tightened on the wheel. Insurance, maybe? In case the president's goons came knocking. Jessica's voice carried a hint of dark humor. But how'd you know where it led? We didn't, Mac admitted. Pure gamble, but a secret escape route had to surface somewhere secluded, far from the consulate. Hence waiting for our location ping. Jakob's chuckle held no mirth. Exactly. Mac's smile didn't reach his eyes as the van melted into Vienna's shadowed streets, leaving behind a building full of cooling bodies and questions that would haunt them all. Chapter 38. Caracas, Venezuela. Enrique sat frozen before the television, its blue glow casting shadows across his office like fingers of death. The Venezuelan consulate in Vienna filled the screen, emergency lights strobing against smoke-stained walls, body bags being carried out one by one like a parade of the damned. 16 dead, including Ambassador Carpio. A diplomatic nightmare turned into a slaughterhouse. His blood turned to ice water as Carlos appeared on screen, eyes burning with righteous fury as he laid bare the regime's sins. Words like assassination attempt and state-sponsored murder spilled from his lips, each syllable another nail in Enrique's coffin. The media would feast on this for months. Carlos, the brave survivor who dared to expose the regime's brutality on foreign soil. But what chilled Enrique to the bone wasn't just the failure, it was the surgical precision of it. Whoever had eliminated Joaquin's team wasn't just skilled. They were something else entirely. A ghost that moved through their carefully laid plans like smoke through a screen door. The writing on the wall might as well have been written in his own blood. Someone would have to pay, and Enrique already knew who would wear the crown of thorns. "Sir, the president wants to see you." His secretary's voice cut through his spiral of dread. "Tell him I'm on my way." The words tasted like ash and broken dreams. The door clicked shut with the finality of a coffin lid. His hands trembled as he grabbed his coat and keys. The path ahead was clear as a bullet's trajectory. There would be no mercy, no redemption. His family would be caught in the crossfire, hunted down and slaughtered in broad daylight like dogs. Better to choose his own exit than face whatever tortures awaited. The image of his 8-year-old son's face swam before him, and hot tears blurred his vision, each one carrying the weight of a future that would never be. Chapter 39. 5 days later. A 10-minute video has surfaced online today. The news anchor's voice crackled with barely contained excitement. It's a recorded version of what happened in the deceased Venezuelan ambassador's office in Vienna when New York Times columnist Mr. Carlos arrived there. The footage played across screens worldwide, raw, unedited truth exposing the regime's darkness. Anna's assault, the mercenary's cold calculation, all laid bare in high definition. The anonymous uploader's threat hung like a sword of Damocles. More videos would follow if the Venezuelan president didn't resign within 48 hours. The international community circled like vultures, even Russia, their longtime ally, backing away from the stench of scandal. The doorbell's chime cut through the broadcast. Karina crossed to the door, her bare feet silent on hard wood. A postal worker stood outside, manila envelope in hand. "Please sign here," he said, offering his clipboard. "Who is it?" Carlos's voice echoed from inside. "Mail." The envelope felt heavy in her hands, weighted with possibility. Carlos limped into the hall, bandages still stark white against his healing skin. "Who sent it?" "No name." She passed him the mystery. Paper tore beneath his fingers, documents spilling out like autumn leaves. A single note fluttered free. Best wishes for a happy married life. Their eyes devoured the papers, signatures in all the right places, every detail perfect. Carlos looked up to find tears streaming down Karina's face, her joy too big for words. His smile broke through weeks of pain as he pulled her close, their hearts beating in sync. Together they sent silent thanks skyward, to their God, and to the ghost who had just handed them their future, wrapped in brown paper and bureaucratic ink. Chapter 40. Steam billowed around Anna as her cell phone's shrill ring cut through the shower's white noise like a knife. Wrapping herself in a plush bathrobe, water still beating on her skin, she emerged from the bathroom only to find silence. The missed call glowed on her screen. Unknown. Her hands shook slightly as she stared at the phone. Ever since what happened at the consulate, simple sounds made her jump. The memory of Wick's movements in that bathroom played on endless loop. Methodical, efficient, terrifying. The way he'd looked at her afterward, reading her like a chess position, calculating her value and threat level in microseconds. 91 seconds ticked by before the phone burst to life again. She let it ring 4 times, each chime measured and deliberate. Anna. The voice was cultured, educated, British accent with hints of something else, not digitally disguised this time. I trust you're settling into your new accommodations? Professor? Her voice came out smaller than intended. Indeed, though I suspect you've been having some rather vivid dreams lately. Combat trauma is quite common after witnessing such artistry. Anna's blood ran cold. He knew, of course he knew. The American was quite impressive, wasn't he? 16 kills in under 2 hours. Most professionals would require a full tactical team for such an operation. The professor's tone carried academic fascination, as if discussing an interesting specimen. Tell me, Anna, when you watched him work, what did you feel? I don't understand. Of course you do. You're an intelligent woman. You witnessed perfection in motion, a human being stripped of sentiment, morality, hesitation, pure function. Did it frighten you, or did some part of you find it beautiful? Anna's throat constricted. Because he was right. In that bathroom, watching Wick transform mundane objects into instruments of death, she'd felt both terror and a sick kind of admiration. You see, Anna, most people live their entire lives constrained by artificial constructs, ethics, empathy, social conditioning. But occasionally, we encounter someone who has transcended such limitations. Someone who has become what nature intended, a perfect predator. What do you want from me? The words came out as a whisper. The same thing I've always wanted, to prove that human potential is limitless when properly cultivated. His parents. He still believes in love, family, belonging, weaknesses that limit his potential. I intend to cure him of such illusions. Anna's analytical mind worked through the implications. You're going to use me. Not use, my dear, deploy. You'll be Venezuela's new ambassador to the United States, a position that will inevitably bring you into contact with certain agencies, and when the time comes, you'll deliver a message. What message? You will get to know it. The phone went silent for 10 seconds, letting the revelation sink in. But Professor, Anna's voice steadied as her diplomatic training kicked in. If I deliver that message, he'll come for you. And after what I saw in Vienna. Oh, my dear girl. The professor's laughter held genuine warmth. That's exactly what I'm counting on. You see, I don't intend to run from our American friend. I intend to change him. By turning him into what? A monster? By freeing him from the last vestiges of humanity that hold him back. When he finally understands the truth about his parents, about the man who raised him, about the lie his entire life has been, he'll become something unprecedented, something beautiful. Anna felt sick. And if he kills you in the process? Then I'll have died creating the perfect weapon. Either way, the mission advances. The line went dead, leaving Anna alone with the terrible knowledge of what was coming. She'd seen Wick's capacity for violence firsthand, but she'd also glimpsed something else in those ice-blue eyes. A man desperately searching for connection, for meaning, for home. The professor intended to destroy that search forever, and Anna would be the one to light the fuse. Chapter 41. Maryland, USA. Wick sat in his sparsely furnished apartment, laptop screen casting blue light across features that hadn't seen peaceful sleep in days. The Vienna mission replayed in his mind on endless loop. Not the tactical elements, but the moments between. The weight of the knife in his hand, the sound of breath leaving bodies, the casual efficiency with which he'd ended lives. 16 kills in one day. A new personal record. The thought should have bothered him more than it did. The email had arrived 4 days ago, embedded between spam and security alerts like a digital landmine waiting to detonate. The image loaded slowly. A sun-drenched summer day frozen in time. An infant with ice-blue eyes stared back at him, flanked by 2 adults whose faces had been deliberately corrupted into digital static. But Wick could see enough. The woman's hair color, the man's build, the way they held the child, not like strangers but like parents. His parents. His hands trembled as he studied every pixel, searching for clues the way he'd once searched for targets. The setting looked American, suburban, middle class. The clothing suggested late 1990s. The quality of the corruption was professional, surgical. Whoever had done this possessed serious technical skills. Below the image, elegant text in Times New Roman. Some questions are worth any price. Others exact a cost you cannot imagine. Choose wisely. The Professor. Wick sat in the darkness for a long time, the music box melody echoing in his memory like a ghost trying to remember how to haunt. Outside his window, Marilyn slept peacefully, unaware that somewhere in the shadows, 2 predators were circling each other in a dance that would end in blood and truth, and the death of everything Sam Wick thought he knew about himself. The hunt had begun, but for the first time in his life, Wick wasn't sure if he was the hunter or the prey. Thank you for listening to Wicked Deceit by Chase Austin, brought to you by Thrillverse Media. The adventure continues in the next Sam Wick thriller, and we hope you'll join us. We also invite you to explore Chase Austin's other series and characters like Axel Monk action thrillers, Freelancer action thrillers, Creed Hart crime thriller, and Aria Hunt FBI crime thrillers, as well as a variety of free short stories and bonus content available on our website, thechaseaustin.com. We appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to having you with us again soon.